is PEP welcoming you to a very special edition of Worldwide Magazine. Now, I'm originally from the New York City area, but I came to St. Louis back in January of 1971. And the reason I came was because of one special man. His name is Richard J. Miller, R.J. Miller, and he is the owner of what is now KJOY Radio. And back when I was there, it was KADI-FM. And I was the program director and the disc jockey and the music director there. That's why I'm in St. Louis. Anyway, RJ has been in broadcasting for the last 35 years, and some of his friends have gotten together today and rented Club 64 so that they can have a special tribute to Richard. So join us as we go inside and see all the beautiful people at Club 64 as they salute R.J. Miller on Worldwide Magazine. We're outside Club 64, and we're waiting for some of the big celebrities and some of the beautiful people to come in here for this beautiful event. A salute to R.J. Miller. And a lot of celebrities are inside already. We'll be meeting a lot of them and conversing, being very, very close to them, which is the Worldwide Magazine way. Of course, none are here right now, but somebody might be coming around the bend. No, I don't see anybody. I guess they're all inside, so let's go inside. Don't let the Joneses get you down. War down, sing! Hi-ya! Hi-ya! Well, we're here at the big party for RJ, and we're with two really great people that I used to work with. On my right is Shiloh Brunswick, also known as Paul Self.
That's me.
And I remember my last memory of you was when you were living in Soulard, and it was about a month after Christmas, and you had your Thanksgiving turkey skeleton on your table. Remember that?
My Thanksgiving turkey on my table.
Right, remember that?
No, I don't remember that. I have no recollection of any of those years. As a matter of fact, sometimes it's, who are you? What am I doing here? Where are we?
Hey! Hey! I know my brain. I know my You're the best. Good man. Hey!
And over here on my left is somebody that you've seen before. Radio Rich from KSHE, the afternoon jock. Hi, Rich.
Hi, Pete. How you doing? Good to see you again.
And Rich is an old ex-KADI employee. Used to work for them. Oh, gee, what years did you work there?
71 until 75.
And me and Rich worked together in St. Louis and in Kansas City.
Good old quickie, 1722 Main.
So you see all those beautiful people here at Club 64 now.
Well, you know what? I just walked in the door, Pete. You're the first, you and Paul are the first two people I've said hi to, so I'm unable to comment on the people.
Well, there's a lot of people that I really am glad to see again tonight, and of course there's a lot of people that I'm not too happy to see again. And now one of the many, many celebrities that are here tonight, it's Mark Langston from WIL Radio. Now, if it wasn't for me, Mark wouldn't be where he is today. Is that right?
Boy, Peter, that's the truth. I'll tell you what, I was working at a little itty-bitty radio station out in the cornfields of Belleville, Illinois. It was back in the mid-'70s, and I was looking for that big break here in the St. Louis market, and calling up Peter Parisi, P-E-P. I think he was doing high-intensity news at the time, or something like that. Anyway, Peter was the one that gave me my big break, and I took that big break, and thanks to Peter, I'm here to tell you that I've had a wonderful time. That's all I can tell you. It's just been a wonderful career.
And Mark has a secret nickname within the radio community, and that's Mr. Sincerity.
That's true. They sure taught me how to sell. But in all sincerity, it was because of Peter Parisi was the reason that I got my big break into the major markets. It's a big thing for people in radio to do that. And it was because of Peter.
And look at this guy's a big guy making $50,000, $60,000 a year at WIL, and I'm driving a cab. Is that justice?
Yeah, I think that's a justice.
Please don't leave me, girl.
We're with two of the most beautiful girls that have ever worked at KADI, Debbie and Debbie. No, Debbie and Sharon.
My name is Sharon.
Sharon and Debbie. Now, Sharon looks a lot like Dinah Shore, doesn't she?
I don't think so. No, Pete, you got it wrong.
So, well, you have anything you want to say to RJ?
RJ, my name is Sharon, not Rosa. My name is Sharon.
Richard and I have been together for I don't know how long now, for almost 15 to 20 years, and I'll tell you, it's been the best 15 to 20 years we've ever had together. Nobody could have been more of a brother to me than Richard has.
We're with two of Richard's very, very close friends, and two people that all of you at Worldwide Magazine certainly know, Matt and Lee. How you doing, Matt?
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm fine. Boy, good time. This is a wonderful place. Oh, beautiful, beautiful place. Everything's okay. Richard's okay. Are you all right? You're wonderful. Everybody okay.
How'd you get to know Richard?
Oh, that's my friend. I raised that kid. I raised him for a long time. For about 35 years, I know him, though.
We were in tavern business, and Richard happened in one time, and he and Matt got quite chummy. That's how they got acquainted.
And now, in the celebrity corner, one of my old friends, one of the greatest guys in the whole world, Reverend Cleombus. I was trying to combine your name with Cleopas Robinson. Reverend Columbus Gregory. How you doing, Columbus?
Well, Peter Parisi, I am fine, and it is so good to see you. Good to see RJ. It's good to see Mary Jane and all of the fellas that we work with. Peter, you are terrific, and RJ and Mary Jane, this is well overdue, I tell you. It's a fantastic party. I am enjoying myself.
Now, this is Jack Davis, one of the old, one of the very first jocks at KADI.
The first white one. The first white one.
And also one of the very first jocks at KSHE.
The first jock RJ ever got out of jail 4 times.
That's right. I went to get you out of jail once.
One time.
Glenridge. Glenridge. Well, no, not Glenridge. What's that town there?
Glendale.
Glendale, right. So what's new, Jack?
Well, not much. I haven't been in jail lately. Or Glendale, as a matter of fact.
Right now we're talking to Mr. Gene Denonovich, who is one of Rich's close friends and one of my old friends. He's been with Columbia Records for 28 years, just recently retired, which you shouldn't have done.
Well, what can I say? I just want to take a little time off to kind of relax a little bit and kind of regroup, and then move on eventually into something else within the record business. You know, every once in a while you reach a certain plateau and it's time to make a change, or time to kick back and relax. And you made that change yourself, Peter, so you know what we're talking about. You know, bigger and bigger, better things lie ahead.
Well, I stopped working at KADI for 2 reasons. Because number one, I thought I needed new challenges. And number 2, they stopped paying me. Gary Bennett, there he is.
Peter, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Gary, is that your wife?
No, I don't have a wife anymore.
What happened to your wife?
I don't know. I'm waiting for the insurance company to tell me.
How long ago you split up?
It's been about 1.5 years.
We're with Mr. Miller, Richard's father. What was Richard like when he was a kid?
He was great, but he was a problem. He
Oh,
was
really?
really a problem, but, you know, with a little handling and patience, he's overcome it, and he's #1 in my book, always.
You're watching a worldwide magazine special presentation. A salute to R.J. Miller, one of the most fascinating men in St. Louis. And now back to the festivities, which took place on May 20th at Club 64.
Anyway, welcome to 64 West. We've got a great evening tonight. I want to remind everybody that there is a book over there by the front door. We'd like to have everybody here sign the book. Write your name in it. You can write anything you want to Richard in the book. I know it's a real temptation. But we're going to start the program tonight. We worked really hard on these videos. There are going to be 4 segments of video here played in a second. And the first segment is coming up now, right on the screens.
Hi, I'm Radio Rich Dalton, and my first commercial on-the-air experience was good old KADI. I became a communications fund employee, I think, October of '71. But one of my first, let's say, run-ins with Richard was I was playing something really weird on the radio, like a Bonzo Dog Doodah Band or something, and Richard called on the hotline and said, "Do you think that's something our audience wants to hear?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I got a lot of requests for it. I thought it was worth hearing." And Richard said, "Well, 1,000, no, 1,000,000 of their requests don't equal one of mine. Take it off." And at a subsequent staff meeting, Richard took me to task once again, and I forget how it all went, but he was saying something about tracing my meteoric career, and one day my face will be on the cover of Newsweek or something, and I called him a son of a bitch in the meeting. And from then on, we were actually pretty good friends. He liked me.
Hi, this is Jody Owen, and yes, I do consider him my own personal R. We're talking, of course, about RJ, our beloved Richard Miller. When I started with Richard Miller in 1967, I was a Negro. It was one of the requirements, apparently. Actually, I was the only white guy on the air on both stations, KADI and KXLW. Like so many of you watching this, I had always wanted to be in radio, and it wasn't until I got out of the Navy that I first got the opportunity to get a real radio job. I got back to St. Louis from San Diego, California on a Friday. I'm out of the Navy, I'm ready to go to work in radio. I tuned the stations around, and at the time I was crazy about jazz. There was a jazz station in St. Louis, KADI-FM. I didn't know anything about tapes and resumes. I'd never been in radio. I just always pretended to be in radio. So what did I do? I looked up the phone number and called the radio station. The secretary said, "Hello, this is KADI." I said, "I'd like to speak to the owner." Where else would that work? But the owner was not only on the premises, but taking calls from anyone, and he took my call. I said, "Hello, I'm Jody Owen. I just got out of the Navy, and I'd like to go into radio." He said, "Where are you? Can you get here in an hour?" True story. I drove over. He interviewed me for 15 or 20 minutes. I think we talked mostly about the proper ingredients for a good vegetable soup. And then he said, "I like your style, boy. You start Friday."
Hi, I'm Gary Records Brown, Program Director of KGLD, and JC asked me to make an appearance here for him in his absence because he couldn't be here, and he really wanted to. So we're acting as a representative for him. In our time, I sound like it's the royal we. In my time at KADI, KXLW, KKOJ, KDAM, then it was something else. I don't know. I've forgotten already. More call letters and more formats on the AM side of the band than I could ever recall. It got to the point where when I programmed the AM, we had something called the briefcase format because we changed format so often that I kept everything in place in a briefcase, and we could change the format in a day and a half, and we did a couple of times. Oldies, and then back to top 40, and then back to album rock, and then back to who knows.
Out of the tree of life, I just picked me a plum.
Tell us about this spot, Cadet.
Well, it's a good spot for development, Pete. I can see the neon signs right now. I can see the soft ice cream stores. I can see the adult bookstores. I can see the wig stores. I can see some barbecue places that say ribs is my name, sauce is my game. I can see it all right now. Someday this will all be yours, Pete.
Out of the tree of life, I just picked me a plum. You came along and everything started to hum. Still, it's a real good bet, the best is yet to come.
Former KADI employee, now works for World Communications here in St. Louis, Joe Stevenson.
Working at KADI was like being in the Twilight Zone, I'll tell you. Hello, my name is Joe Stevenson, and it's a pleasure to be here on this very distinctive occasion this afternoon, celebrating Richard's anniversary in the radio business.
Listen to the mic.
I'll tell you, you shave the beard and everything goes, the brain, everything. They say imitation is the highest form of flattery, and that being the case, more people have flattered Richard Miller than Ed Sullivan and John Wayne combined, I feel. Like many of you who have worked for or with Richard, I worked there briefly, 2 years back in the early 70s. And in the radio business, jobs seem to come and go. Changing jobs seems to be almost expected. At least that's what I thought it was. And as a result, jobs seem to blend one into the other. Working at KADI, I will remember for the rest of my life. It is permanently implanted in my brain. And one more thing, when you run into somebody that you meet for the very first time, and you're trying to establish some common ground, and then they say, I used to work for Richard Miller. Immediately, there is a unification, an understanding of that person. There is a fraternity that is better than any social organization known on earth. One of the things Richard likes to do is talk on the telephone. He especially likes to receive wrong numbers. There was a disc jockey on KXOK by the name of Charlie Brown. He's on KMOX doing the news right now, and Charlie Brown had a contest on KXOK called What Do You Say? This is back in the late 70s. He made the mistake of picking Richard Miller's phone number at random. who of course was listed as Slim Pickens in the phone book. We're happy to be able to bring that to you right now. Here's what it sounded like.
And we're on the line here this morning with Slim Pickens of St. Louis. Good morning, Slim.
Good morning, Charlie.
How are you today?
I don't hear myself on the radio.
Well, you will be in just a moment. Listen, Slim Pickens, just for talking with us, you win yourself a free carton of Pepsi-Cola from KXOK.
I'll take it. That's
You're welcome.
To drink.
We'll mail you a certificate for that you can cash in at your post office.
Mail that to me right away. I'll gulp that down in one shot.
Listen, Slim Pickens.
Well, it's supposed to be on the radio.
Wait a second. Slim Pickens for a $1,000 bill. What do you say?
I'm saying, well, hold it. Don't charge me. Don't take it down now. I'm getting my notes now. I got all my notes on how to win this money.
You better make it snappy, Slim. What do you say?
It's not going over the air, though.
It sure will be, Slim. We're recording quickly. What do you say?
Hold it now. I've got it written down. I've got all the notes on how to get that money. Just hold it one more second.
Tell me quickly. Slim, time's up.
Hey, I got it.
What?
KADI.
No. Goodbye, Slim.
Happy anniversary, Richard. May you have many more. Let's have a nice hand for Joe Stevenson. We'd like to recognize some people that are here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a nice round of applause for Mr. Lou Gutman? Lou worked for Richard many years at KADI. We're happy to have you here tonight, Lou. Good to see you. Richard's father's here from New York. David. Turn your attentions to the video monitors for video number 2.
I am pleased and honored to be here today. My name is Greg Hagglund. I am currently at Contemporary Productions as Vice President of Marketing for our marketing division. And in my 12 years of beating the streets of St. Louis, I have to say that Richard Miller is without a question one of my true idols in the St. Louis community, and was one of the first people I was ever forced to have to call on and deal with in any kind of a business relationship. I came down here as a mere pup in the record business, and I think of some of the major hit records that I was proud to be associated with, and Richard helped me develop here in this market. The hit artists that were broken out of this market that I was associated with and can attribute Richard with all the credit are endless. Who can forget Peter McCann, Mary Travers, Thor, Joyce Cobb, Paul Horn, Tantrum. Who can forget these artists? Richard, and I give Richard all the credit. I give Richard a lot of the credit. Richard has been a pioneer in this business. Radio terms that are now industry standards, AOR all over the road, Program Director of the Month Club. These are terms that are now industry standards thanks to Richard. The whole issue of trade. Very few people know that Richard Miller did teach Nancy Poole about trade.
Hi, I'm Tom Gordon. I'm with Clayton Webster, which is actually now called Olympia Networks, broadcast syndicators. We do a lot of radio shows. I first started at KADI back in 1970 when we were on Bomb Park. And Ron Ells was the program director. He had just taken the station to rock and roll. And I lasted there at that time a year. So I go to work at KSHE. And at that time, KSHE was really kind of freeform. And I'm just playing all sorts of wild tunes away from the mainstream. And my phone rings one night, and it's Richard screaming at me about my tune selection. And I said, Rich, this is KSHE. This is Shelley's job. You're not supposed to be calling me. Well, it kept going on and on and on, and that Richard said was, what was his main concern was he didn't want to see me get in trouble with Shelley and get fired, because if I had been doing that at KADI, he'd had to fire me. So he's trying to protect me. And I'm sure that when this is being aired, we should have not had the party here. We should have had it down the street at the arena and invited all the ex-KADI people.
Welcome to the Love Connection. I'm Terrye Seigel. Gosh, I worked on and off for KADI for so many years, currently at Contemporary Productions. And actually, this is my 10-year anniversary. I started back in the spring of 1979 with KADI, and it's been a long, wonderful relationship with Richard. And I'm pleased to be here to give some more wonderful Richard and KADI, K-Joy / stories for you. But actually, probably me getting on the air was between PEP and Richard Miller. They brought me in. I was on the air in Toronto, and I came in, and actually I was hired as a copywriter, and I had done a jeans commercial, just voiceover, I'll never forget it, and PEP and Richard come running into the office, who's the girl on the radio, and I had really never done radio on air. And they go, we love this girl, and they gave me morning drive. And it was like the next day I went from a copywriter to doing morning drive on like KADI, and it was quite an experience. And of course I didn't do too well at it because it was approximately about 3 weeks later, PEP comes into me and says, we got a spot for you, girl. Midnight to 6, they'll love you. The prisoners, you're gonna get letters, you're gonna be big, you're gonna be much bigger than you ever were in morning drive.
We had a dog at the old KADI. I was at all three of the studios. And one day, Richard and I believe Peter just found this old beagle, and it was an old dog. It had a gray muzzle, and they named it Harpo. And Richard, I believe, drew a peace sign on poor Harpo's muzzle right here. And this dog on his head, yeah. And Bernie or whoever was around would have to feed it. And this poor old dog was so old, it had to stay in the studio because if you were, it had to stay in the building. It could barely go up and down those steps. And Harpo maybe lasted for another year or so and then was gone.
Congratulations, Richard, for something. I'm not exactly sure what. I've only been in St. Louis 5 years, and as far as I recall, you haven't done anything special. So, but all these people showed up, and so I guess you did something. Joe, what was that, anyhow?
Richard, you've been an institution in the radio business for St. Louis for too long.
You're not reading it right. You're supposed to be in an institution for...
Oh, sorry.
Okay, well, congratulations on something, and all I know is we didn't get any free food out of the deal. See you later.
Are you guys troubled much with flooding up here?
Does the devil hate the wafer? That's the answer to that question. Does the devil hate the wafer?
What does that mean?
Ah, Jazzy Boy, broadcasting live from New Orleans, where I live now. You probably remember me as Charlie Scott. We used to go to KADI, KADI, see the big guy, one of the top guys, Richard Miller. We love you. We're broadcasting here for 35 years of excellence. Thank you for everything you've done. You're known at the gaming tables in Monte Carlo, and we love you for it.
We love you, Richard.
And I just want to say happy anniversary.
But anyway, Richard, I love you. I could go on forever. There are so many wonderful stories, and some of the best moments of my life were spent with you. Happy anniversary.
I also did sales for Richard at one time. As a matter of fact, right here in the studios in Forsyth. I was living right across the street. I didn't even have a car. He hired me to do sales. So, without a car, what could I do? I sold the business across the street, a 13-week schedule. And then the business next door to them, a 13-week schedule. And then their next door neighbor, a 13-week schedule. And I came back in and turned in my contracts, headed back out, went around the corner and sold a couple more. Clayton was becoming my territory. I came back in and turned in a couple more. This is all in the first day. Then I said, well, I'm going off to sell Martin Coin. Some commercials. He said, you can't sell Martin Coin. They'll never buy. He says, if you sell Martin Coin, I'll give you my watch. Well, I sold Martin Coyne a 13-week schedule, and I came back, and of course I was looking for Richard, who I found out was across the street over at the Leather Bottle having lunch with someone. I couldn't hold back my glee. I walked in on his lunch, sat down, put the contract down on the table, and I said, "What time is it, Richard?" He said, "Why?" And he looked at his watch. I said, "Ah, that's my watch." He said, "No, no, boy, not this watch. I've got a fine watch for you in the prize closet." That was the watch I was referring to.
My only real question I have after dealing with Richard for 12 years, I consider him a friend, a business associate, all of the mysteries of Richard Miller. The only true question that I have for Richard Miller today is, where did you get all the jams and jellies?
Are you guys troubled much with flooding up here?
Does the devil hate the wafer? That's the answer to that question. Does the devil hate the wafer?
What does that mean?
Pete? What a guy. How's Dolores, Sister Dolores?
Fine.
I've never been out here before.
Pete? Are you photographing me now?
No, I'm just adjusting the camera. Let's see if it can adjust to your face, it'll take pictures of anything.
That guy, what a sense of humor.
This is maybe the only radio station I've ever worked at that had a full-time carpenter for all the time that I was here.
And now, former Lieutenant Governor of the state of Missouri and ex-Speaker of the Missouri House of Representatives, Kenneth Rothman.
Did you all hear that? I said, I just wanted to do that to get your attention. You know, when I talked to Ross Gentile, and he asked me to say something about Richard. And I said, well, I could talk 5 minutes about Richard, but then he said it had to be in good taste. And that restricted me quite a bit. You know, it's a funny thing being around Richard. All my life, people knew me as Ken Rothman. I was known as maybe Mr. Speaker, even Lieutenant Governor. When I got to meet Richard, without even the benefit of going to court, he changed my name to Pops. I felt pretty good about it until I found out every other male in the world was named Pops, too. You know, Richard's, what could you say? I got my first set of silver service for 8. And after a while, when I finally caught on to it, it was kind of tough to direct them back to the same restaurants so that I could get them to match. Richard and Mary Jane and Ray and the whole crowd at KJOI, it's been a real joy for me to know them. I think Richard, you could talk about his gourmet cooking, his traveling. You can talk about his great reading. And I think the pleasure that it is for me to know him and the station is to tell you that Richard Miller is indeed what I call the epitome of civilization, of a civilized man. He's your friend when times are good, and most importantly, he's your friend when times are bad. And you don't have to call Richard, he's there on his own. And he knows that all of us, as we go through life, sometimes stumble or fall, and he's always there with a helping hand. And I indeed can say this, it's my great pleasure to say that Richard R.J. Miller is my friend. Thank you very much.
The next guy we're going to bring up has worked for Richard off and on, I think 5 times, was fired 6 times. If it wasn't for Peter, Richard wouldn't be here today. Let's have a nice hand for PEP, the big man, Peter Parisi.
Well, there's a lot of things I'd like to say about Richard, but unfortunately I don't have my bags packed. Sorry about that. Okay. When I first started working for Richard back in 1971, he said, "Pete, get used to driving big cars." And I never knew what he meant until 10 years later when I was working for Limousines by Jed. But anyway, Richard has really been a big part of my life. Sometimes I didn't like him, but I've always loved him because he's a great man. And I'm really proud that I had the opportunity to know him and to work with him. I've learned a lot of things about the good things and the bad things and all kinds of things in life from having the privilege of working with Richard. And I just want to say one of the things, I know people have a short attention span. Richard has a lot of money, he has a lot of friends, he has a lot of success, he's had a really good life. But the most wonderful thing in Richard's life is the love of a wonderful woman who loves him whether he's rich or poor or in a good mood or in a bad mood. And we're talking about his wonderful, wonderful, wonderful wife, Mary Jane. So thank you, Richard. I love you. You certainly are a character, and I guess I am too, so maybe we belong together sometimes.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's the 4th and final video piece of Richard.
And now, in our final segment, in our salute to Richard, we are going to take a look back at Richard's life through pictures.
And what a time it was a time of innocence, a time of confidences. Long ago it must be, I have a photograph, preserve your memories, they're all that's left you.
did it my way. For
Yes, it was my way.
I worked in the record business. This was a very traumatic experience for me, and Richard decided that it would be a good idea that we should have dinner that night. So he says, "You'll call me, boy, at 4:30, we'll meet, we'll go down to Trader Vic's, we'll have a nice dinner, and take your mind off of stuff." So we get down to Trader Vic's, and I'm feeling kind of down, and didn't know exactly what I was going to do. And Richard decides that I should be announced to the room. Now, this is a favorite trick of Richard's. He'll find an empty coffee cup and a spoon, and he'll go, "Oh, this doesn't do it." And he goes, "Ladies," and he holds his hand over your head. And he goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand that this guy was one of the top guys in the business. The goddamn guy lost his job today. The sons of bitches fired him. They don't know what they're doing. The geezers are gonna really pay for their stupid move." Anyway, Richard goes on for like 10 or 15 minutes. Then he says, "Now listen, you're gonna smile, you're gonna laugh. Look at me, boy. Have you ever been slapped? I mean slapped hard." So that usually got the big laugh going. And then he says, "Now promise me one thing, boy. Don't do anything drastic. If you're going to do anything, like if you think you're going to kill yourself or something, give me a call first. I've got a 38 special hidden away. The numbers have been filed off. I've got a long list of geezers I want you to take along with yourself when you go." Classic Richard. I love this guy. He's been a terrific friend of mine over the years. And Richard, it's your night. Come up here and say something to these people.
Very touching. I enjoyed that. First time I've seen it. It was done secretly. It was done over a period of weeks, I guess. I wasn't consulted, and I heard vaguely about it, but that's the first time I saw it tonight. Very touching. I enjoyed it. So everybody in here, almost everybody worked for us, worked for me at one time over the years, back in the old days. Now, do you remember when you started, that first week, when you expected to get paid? And you were told about the policy of 1 week being held back. Everybody else was getting paid, but the new people didn't get paid that first week. That first period was always held back as some sort of reserve. Remember that? Now, maybe your parting with the station was a little bit more traumatic than the first day when the honeymoon started, and so some of you, there was some mix-up with the bookkeeper. Now that last week, did some of you remember there was a question about those funds for that first week, that whether you ever got that or not? Is there any claims for any of those weeks that you still have? Okay. Now, we're working on it right now. We're still working on it. We have to call back before the flood, before the fire. There's some other bookkeepers that we're checking on it. I just want you to feel good about it. We haven't forgotten that money, and it's still being considered, and we're checking into it. And as soon as those accounts are all earning interest right now, it's all in trust. and it'll all be divided up according to a special formula we're working on. You'll all be hearing from us directly. So all those back numbers of money will all be restored at some point. Anyway, thank you very much. There's a few people I want to talk about specially. I can't see you right now. Is that Brother Morris up there sitting by Columbus Gregory? Would you come up here for a minute? I just want you to see him. He may not talk tonight, but I want you to see this man. Columbus Gregory and this man are the two gentlemen here tonight that go back the farthest with me when I got my start in the business. This man was one of the greatest gospel announcers in the city. And when he played music, in those days, the pool halls emptied and work stopped at the post office, people would call in, letters would come in, testimonials, cures, healings, all sorts of miracles attended some of his playing of certain music, and he had a lot of good spirit with it. He was my friend. He and I were serving together. Is that right, Leonard? And we used to have church a lot. I used to go to many churches in the old days and give sermons, too. I was invited by Cleophas Robinson and others to give a sermon, and I used to, did I do a fairly good job? Yeah, I did nice. Anyway, Brother Leonard Morris, I wanted you to see him. Anyway, it's been a pleasure serving with all of you, and I'm really enjoying tonight. Thank you very much, and thanks for coming. Good night.
Richard, could you come back here for a second?
Richard, oh yes. Oh, hold it. I didn't see Roscoe. I didn't recognize Roscoe. I didn't mention him. My old friend Roscoe McCrary.
On behalf of everyone here tonight, Richard, we'd like to present you with a memento of the evening. Peter, come on up here. You should be a part of this, too. Actually, what this is an engraved copy of the invitation that all of you received. And it says, Richard Miller, because we loved you, admired and respected you always, your past, present, and future employees of KXLW, Quickie, WHVY, WMAS, OJ13, KADI, and KJOY.
Now we're with Phil O'Brien, one of the old-time salesmen at KADI Radio, KJOY as they call it now. How long have you been working for KJOY?
36 years.
You like it?
Wonderful. They're wonderful.
Now, what's your latest special package? You got any special package rates for the Northside advertisers?
We've got big ratings now, Peter. We got no deals. You have to pay the card. Pay the price.
Do you think there's too many salesmen working there now?
3 times too many.
Who would you eliminate first?
Everybody but me.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I've been with Jerry and Sammy now for 17 years, and I'll say the same thing today as I do when I'm in Vegas. There's a lot of love in that building, ladies and gentlemen. A whole lot of love. And if it wasn't for the encouragement and the love that I've received from Richard, my life would be a lot different than it is now. So once again, happy anniversary, Richard. Oh, and let me say one other thing. We couldn't tell you anything on television if it wasn't true. Goodbye.